One day in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. Analogies, it is true, decide nothing, but they can make one feel more at home. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. Before you diagnose yourself with depression or low self-esteem, first, make sure that you are not, in fact, surrounded by unpleasant people. Just as no one can be forced into belief, so no one can be forced into unbelief. Flowers are restful to look at. They have neither emotions nor conflicts. The only person with whom you have to compare yourself is you in the past. A man should not strive to eliminate his complexes, but to get into accord with them. They are legitimately what directs his conduct in the world. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. There is a powerful force within us, an unilluminated part of the mind separate from the conscious mind that is constantly at work molding our thought, feelings, and actions. From era to era, one discovers the entire truth. When making a decision of minor importance, I have always found it advantageous to consider all the pros and cons. Dreams are often most profound when they seem the most crazy. Most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. When one does not have what one wants, one must want what one has. I suppose that romantic love was invented as a brilliant means of seduction. If you don't like a person, it's because they remind you of something you don't like about yourself. We choose not randomly each other, we meet only those who already exist in our subconscious. The liberty of the individual is no gift of civilization. It was greatest before there was any civilization. Human life should not be considered as the proper material for wild experiments. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. Psychoanalysis is innocence occur through love. Words and magic were beginning one and the same thing, and even today words retain much of their magical power. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind. The mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. What is common in all these dreams is obvious. They completely satisfy wishes excited during the day which remain unrealized. They are simply and undisguisedly realizations of wishes. Neurosis is no excuse for bad manners. The primitive stages can always be re-established. The primitive mind is in the fullest meaning of the word, imperishable. Maturity is the ability to postpone gratification. Children are completely egoistic. They feel their needs intensely and strive ruthlessly to satisfy them. How bold one gets when one is sure of being loved. The dream is the liberation of the spirit from the pressure of external nature, a detachment of the soul from the fetters of matter. Love and work are the cornerstones of our humanness. The man who has been the indisputable favorite of his mother keeps for life the feeling of a conqueror. No one who shares a delusion ever recognizes it as such. The challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude, be kind, but not weak, be bold, but not bully, be thoughtful, but not lazy, be humble, but not timid, be proud, but not arrogant, but humorable, but without folly. When I am criticized, I can defend myself, but I'm powerless against the praise. Whoever loves becomes humble. Those who love have, so to speak, on the part of their narcissus. We are what we are because we have been what we have been, and what is needed for solving the problems of human life and motives is not moral estimates but more knowledge. The conscious mind may be compared to a fountain playing in the sun and falling back into the great subterranean pool of subconscious from which it rises. The unconscious of one human being can react upon that of another without passing through the conscious. The great question that has never been answered, and which I have not yet been able to answer despite my 30 years of research into the feminine soul, is, does a woman want? The men are more moral than they think, and far more immoral than they can imagine. Look into the depths of your own soul and learn first to know yourself, then you will understand why this illness was bound to come upon you, and perhaps you will thenceforth avoid falling ill. The ego is not master in its own house. No matter how much restriction civilization imposes on the individual, he nevertheless finds some way to circumvent it. What is the best safety valve modern man has evolved? The more civilization, the more repression, the more need there is for wit. Dogs love their friends and bite their enemies, quite unlike people, who are incapable of pure love and always have to mix love and hate. Great decisions in the realm of thought, and momentous discoveries, and solutions of problems are only possible to an individual, working in solitude.